Hi, it's Brett, and thank you for dropping by or returning to my channel. Today, I want to talk, as we're winding up for the end of the year, of my 10 before the end. So let's talk about them. I hope you're all having a great day. It is Monday here in Los Angeles. I have started the week off with a bang. I had a colonoscopy this morning. For any of you who have had a colonoscopy, you know that prep days are awful. But for those of all of you who are young enough to have not experienced one yet, just you wait. So, anyway, but I'm feeling good and I'm ready to talk about my 10 before the end. Now, for any of you who don't know, the 10 before the end challenge is 10 books that you want to prioritize before the end of the year. I know that Melinda at Web of Stories has already posted her 10 before the end. I will post that below. And subsequently, if there's others of you who have posted a 10 before the end, please let me know so I could do a shout out of it on my next video. But for mine, this is so funny that I'm even doing like this 10, not that I'm doing it at all, but I also, there was a prompt earlier this year at the very beginning of the year that was 10 books recommended by 10 people that you should read. The twist I did on that was, and this was over on Instagram, is I took a huge pile from my book stack of things I hadn't read and said, people pick from this, and whatever gets the most votes, those are the books I picked. However, I've only read like 2 or 3 of those books. So that's really what my 10 before the end should be. But, whatever. One more book stack, whatever. But the good news is we're coming to the end of the year and we're headed into November. And so for me, at least, most of the big books, or the books that I'm really interested in, have already come out. So it's not like this continuation of things happening. Although I'm already looking ahead to January and February and books that look interesting to me, or books that I want to focus on for my podcast. So anyway, but there is this window of time where I'm hoping to get some of these things done. So let's not waste any more time, speaking of it. Okay, so the first book is Highway 13 by Fiona McFarlane. I first saw this book because Simon over at Savage Reads had posted about it and how terrific it was, and it sounded so fascinating. Fiona McFarlane is an Australian writer, and this is set in Australia. Now, it deals with a serial killer. However, it's not your typical serial killer who's trying to kill a bunch of people. The killings have already taken place. But it says his 12 victims, women, men, mostly young, are long gone, but their deaths are felt beyond the forest where they were buried, beyond this country, beyond even this time. So it says Highway 13 is a luminous wonder, a book about the collisions between public and private selves, between parents and children, between history and what comes after, between the living and the dead. Fiona McFarlane's roving vision in itself, a story about stories. Those we tell, retell, forget, sell, disprove, inherit, live through, and a work of extraordinary power and magic. So I think this sounds so fascinating. I'm really, really intrigued by it. So that's the first. Second, I started this. There was always this year on Basketball and Ascension by Hanif Abdurraqib. I started this earlier this year, and for whatever reason, I just put it down. However, I'm kind of obsessed with him. Little Devil in America, I thought was so brilliant. So I have this on audio and he reads it, so I'm going to probably go back into this very shortly, but this is an absolute thing I want to read before the end of the year. So then number 3 is Glorious Exploits by Ferdia Lenin. First of all, how could you not love a cover that has googly eyes? But beyond that, this is an utterly original celebration of that which binds humanity across battle lines and history. On the island of Sicily, amid the Peloponnesian War, the Syracusans have figured out what to do with their surviving Athenians. who had the gall to invade their city. They've herded the sorry prisoners of war into a rock quarry and left them to rot. Looking for a way to pass the time, Lampo and Gelon, two unemployed potters with a soft spot for poetry and drink, head down into the quarry to feed the Athenians if, and only if, they can manage a few choice lines from their greatest playwright, Euripides. Before long, the two mates hatch a plan to direct a full-blown production of Medea. After all, you can hate the people but love their art. So I've heard this is fantastic. Ben at Ben Reads Good has loved this. It's supposed to be really funny, Irish, which you know I love. So excited about this one. I always say I'm excited about this one, and I said before I laugh at that because if I wasn't excited about it, I probably wouldn't be sitting here talking about it. I'll try to curb that. Really excited. No, I'm kidding. Okay, Elizabeth Strout, Tell Me Everything. I don't think this needs much explanation. I'm kind of surprised I haven't read this already, but I haven't. So I'm a huge Elizabeth Strout fan. I will read everything she writes, much like Ann Patchett and a bevy of other writers. But what I find interesting about it is she takes the Lucy Barton character and the Olive Kittredge character, and they interact and they kind of come into each other's orbits. So she's bringing her worlds together, and I think it just sounds great. Then, Taiwan Travelogue by Yang Shuangzi. Don't know much about this, but it sounds really interesting. This is also a finalist for the 2024 National Book Award for Translated Literature. And it comes out November 12th in the States. It says, May 1938, the young novelist Ayomi Chizuko has sailed from her home in Nagasaki, Japan, and arrived in Taiwan. She's been invited there by the Japanese government ruling the island, though she has no interest in their official banquets or imperialistic agenda. Instead, Shizuko longs to experience real island life and taste as much of its authentic cuisine as her famously monstrous appetite can bear. Soon, a Taiwanese woman who is younger even than she is and who shares the characters of her name is hired as her interpreter and makes her dreams come true. The charming, erudite, meticulous Shizuru arranges Shizuko's travels all over the land of the South and also proves to be an exceptional cook. Over scenic train rides and braised pork rice, lively banter, and winter melon tea, Shizuko grows infatuated with her companion and intent on drawing her closer. But something causes Shizuru to keep her distance. It's only after a heartbreaking separation that Shizuko begins to grasp what that something is. So I have no idea beyond that, but I think it sounds really wonderful. So November 12th it comes out. I'll let you know. All right, one of my backlog books or back catalog books is Stoner by John Williams. This is the very beautiful 50th anniversary edition. A bunch of bookstagrammers were reading this, and I had complete FOMO on what I was missing out. So I don't know much about this, to be honest with you. The critic Morris Dickstein has said that John Williams' Stoner is, quote, something much rarer than a great novel. It is a perfect novel. And in the last decade, this austere and deeply moving tale of a Midwestern college professor has been embraced by readers all over the world. So there you go. I'll let you know. Let me know if you've read this. Then, another book I can't believe I haven't read yet is There Are Rivers in the Sky by Leif Shafak. I was such a big fan of 10 Minutes, 38 Seconds in the Strange World and The Island of Missing Trees. So this is one I'm particularly interested in. Can't wait to read it. There you go. All right. This book, Holy City, by Henry Wise, has gotten great buzz everywhere that I've seen it read, but it's never really kind of hit it like I thought it would. It says, after a decade of exile precipitated by the tragic death of his mother, Will Seams, that's his name. I was like, Will Seams returns home from Richmond to rural Southside Virginia, taking a job as a deputy sheriff in a landscape given way to crime and defeat. Impoverished and abandoned, this remote land of tobacco plantations, raised forests, and boarded up homes seems stuck in the past in a state that is trying to forget its complex history and move on. Will's efforts to go about his life are wrecked when a mysterious, brutal homicide claims the life of an old friend, Tom Janders, forcing Will to face the true impetus for his return, not to honor his mother's memory, but to pay a debt to a black friend who, in an act of selfless courage years ago, protected Will and suffered a permanent disfigurement for it. Meanwhile, a man Will knows to be innocent is arrested for Tom's murder, and despite Will's pleas, his boss seems all too content to wrap up the case. Will must weigh his personal guilt against his public duty when the local black community hires Benica Watts, an unpredictable private detective from Richmond, to help him find the real killer. It would seem an ideal pairing. She has experience along with plenty of sand, and Will is privy to the details of the case, but it doesn't take long for either to realize they much prefer to operate alone. Okay, I just think this sounds so good. It sounds also to me a little bit like something that S.A. Cosby would pen. So interested in this. 2 more to go. All right. Bringer of Dust by J.M. Miro is the follow-up. It's the book 2 of the Talons trilogy. The first one being Ordinary Monsters. Ordinary Monsters was this kind of steampunk gothic horror novel. Not horror, not horror like Stephen King horror, but definitely suspense. There were some brutal moments, but I loved it so much. I loved it so much, about these people that are trying to protect these children who have special powers. This is the follow-up, and I'm certainly going to have to go to like Wikipedia to do a review because it's been long enough, but this is also the Goldsboro edition, which is so phenomenal. I had the Goldsboro edition on the first one too, and I wanted the matching set. It's interesting because it's published here by Flatiron Books, and I haven't really seen a lot about it, and certainly not any kind of reviews or at all. So, which is a shame because it's the first one's great, and if you're someone who's into kind of like fantasy-esque adventure, really pulse-pounding books, you should definitely check it out. So, the final book, again, another Irish writer, The Alternatives by Caelan Hughes. I hope I pronounced that name correctly. So, from the writer Anthony Dewar calls a massive talent, an unforgettable portrait of a family perched on our collective precipice. The Flattery sisters were plunged prematurely into adulthood when their parents died in tragic circumstances. Now in their 30s, all single with PhDs, the four lead disparate, distanced lives, each attempting to do meaningful work in a rapidly foundering world. One day, the eldest, a geologist haunted by a terrible awareness of the Earth's future, abruptly vanishes from her work and home. The others descend on the Irish countryside in search of a sister who doesn't want to be found. Brought together for the first time in years, they reach into their common past, confronting both old wounds and a desperately uncertain future with all the turbulence and kaleidoscopic pleasure of a family reunion. Warm, fiercely funny, and unexpectedly hopeful, The Alternatives is a powerful novel about the challenge and promise of adaptation by one of Ireland's most gifted storytellers. So there's that. So that is my very hopeful 10 before the end. Let me know what you think. Let me think of what I should prioritize. If you've read any of these books, I would love to know that information. And again, if you end up posting your 10 before the end, please let me know so on my next video, I can have a link so people can check yours out, because I love to see what everyone tries to get in before the end of the year. Okay, I hope you're all having an amazing week so far. It's only Monday, but it might be Friday when you're watching this. So I thank you as always for stopping by. And if you like what you've seen, please like and subscribe. I really appreciate it. I appreciate you all more than you know. Have a great week, and I will see you all soon.